Confirmation bias, the echo chamber champion. Confirmation bias is basically your brain's way of being that friend who only tells you what you want to hear, even when you're about to make terrible life decisions. It's the reason you can find evidence that pineapple belongs on pizza, or that your ex was actually the worst human being ever created. Your brain is constantly scanning for information that confirms what you already believe while conveniently ignoring anything that might prove you wrong. It's like having a personal assistant whose only job is to find articles that support your existing opinions and hide anything that might challenge your worldview. This is why people can look at the exact same news story and come to completely opposite conclusions. Your brain isn't interested in finding the truth, it's interested in being right. It's less objective truth seeker and more overly supportive best friend who enables your bad decisions. Confirmation bias explains why you can spend hours researching why your favorite sports team is definitely going to win this year, but somehow miss all the obvious signs that they're actually terrible. Your brain becomes a selective editor, keeping the good stuff and deleting everything else like it's curating your personal highlight reel. Sunk cost fallacy, the relationship cemetery. The sunk cost fallacy is why you stayed in that terrible relationship for 2 extra years because you'd already invested so much time in it. It's your brain's way of throwing good money after bad, except instead of money, it's usually your happiness and sanity. This bias tricks you into thinking that because you've already spent time, money, or effort on something, you have to keep going even when it's obviously not working. It's like continuing to eat a terrible meal because you already paid for it, except the meal is your entire life situation. You see this everywhere. People staying in jobs they hate because they've been there for 5 years, watching terrible movies to the end because they're already an hour in, or finishing college degrees they realize they don't want because they're already $50,000 in debt. The sunk cost fallacy turns your past investments into emotional quicksand. The more you've already spent, the harder it becomes to walk away, even when walking away is obviously the smart choice. It's like your brain becomes a stubborn accountant who refuses to write off bad investments. Dunning-Kruger effect, the confidence paradox. The Dunning-Kruger effect is why the person who watched 3 YouTube videos about car repair thinks they can rebuild an engine, while actual mechanics question everything they know. It's basically your brain's way of giving you maximum confidence at minimum competence. This bias makes people who know very little about something think they're experts, while people who actually know what they're doing are plagued by self-doubt. It's like the universe's cruelest joke. The less you know, the more confident you feel about what you don't know. You see this everywhere on social media where people become epidemiologists after reading one article, or suddenly become financial experts after buying their first stock. Meanwhile, actual experts are humble because they understand how much they still don't know. The Dunning-Kruger effect explains why arguing with ignorant people is so frustrating. They're literally too ignorant to realize they're ignorant. It's like trying to explain color to someone who's colorblind but insists they can see perfectly fine. Availability heuristic, the headlines. Hunter. The availability heuristic is why you're more afraid of shark attacks than heart disease, even though you're way more likely to die from eating too many cheeseburgers than from a shark encounter. Your brain judges how likely something is based on how easily you can remember examples of it happening. This bias makes whatever you saw most recently feel like the most important thing in the world. If you just watched a documentary about plane crashes, flying suddenly feels terrifying, even though statistically you're safer in a plane than driving to the airport. The news media basically weaponizes this bias by showing you the most dramatic, scary, or unusual events from around the world. Your brain treats these rare events like they're happening in your neighborhood because they're the most memorable examples you have. It's why people buy lottery tickets after hearing about winners, but don't invest in retirement after hearing about compound interest. Lottery winners make headlines and stick in your memory, while successful retirement planning is boring and forgettable. Anchoring bias, the first impression dictator. Anchoring bias is why the first price you see for anything becomes your reference point for whether other prices are good deals or expensive, even when that first price was completely made up. Your brain gets stuck on the first piece of information it receives and uses that as the anchor for all future decisions. This is why car salespeople start with the most expensive model, why restaurants put one ridiculously overpriced item on the menu to make everything else seem reasonable, And why was $100 now $50 feels like a better deal than just seeing $50. Anchoring bias affects way more than just money decisions. If someone tells you a person is kind of smart before you meet them, you'll interpret everything they say differently than if someone told you they were brilliant first. The anchor sets your expectations. It's also why first impressions are so powerful and hard to change. Whatever anchor gets set in those first few moments becomes the baseline that everything else gets compared to, even when that first impression was based on incomplete or misleading information. Loss aversion, the fear of losing champion. Loss aversion is why losing $20 feels way worse than finding 20 feels good, even though they're the exact same amount of money. Your brain is basically hardwired to hate losing things more than it enjoys gaining things, which makes you terrible at making rational decisions about risk. This bias is why people stay in bad situations rather than risk change, why you keep subscriptions you don't use rather than lose the service, and why breakups hurt so much even when the relationship was mediocre. Your brain treats any loss as a threat to your survival. Loss aversion explains why people hold on to losing stocks for too long, hoping they'll recover, but sell winning stocks too quickly to lock in gains. You're so afraid of losing what you have that you make decisions based on fear rather than logic. It's also why limited time offers work so well. The idea that you might lose the opportunity to buy something triggers loss aversion, making you want it more than if it was just available all the time. Halo effect, the pretty privilege bias. The halo effect is why attractive people seem smarter, successful companies seem innovative in everything they do, and people assume that because someone is good at one thing, they must be good at everything. Your brain basically gives certain people or things a halo that makes you see them more positively across the board. This bias is why celebrity endorsements work even when the celebrity knows nothing about the product. If you like someone for one reason, your brain automatically assumes they're credible about everything else. It's like your brain is too lazy to evaluate each trait separately. The halo effect explains why first impressions are so powerful in job interviews, why brand names matter so much, and why one bad experience with a company can make you hate everything about them even when it was just one isolated incident. It works in reverse too. If you dislike someone for one reason, you'll probably find reasons to dislike everything else about them. Your brain wants consistency, so it adjusts your perception to match the overall impression, rather than evaluating each thing independently. Survivorship bias, the success story illusion. Survivorship bias is why you think dropping out of college to start a business is a great idea because you keep hearing about Steve Jobs and Bill Gates, while completely ignoring the millions of college dropouts who are now struggling to pay rent. You only hear about the winners, never the losers. This bias makes success seem easier and more common than it actually is because failure stories don't make headlines or get retold at dinner parties. It's like judging how safe war is by only interviewing the soldiers who came home alive. Survivorship bias explains why follow your passion seems like good advice, You hear about the people who followed their passion and became successful, but you never hear about the thousands who followed their passion and ended up broke and miserable. It's also why social media makes everyone else's life look perfect. You're seeing the curated highlight reel of people who are doing well enough to post about it, not the complete picture that includes all the struggles and failures that people don't share. Recency bias, the goldfish memory effect. Recency bias is why your opinion of a restaurant is based entirely on your last visit there, even if you've been going there for years. Your brain gives way too much weight to whatever happened most recently, treating your latest experience as if it's the most important data point. This bias makes you think your favorite sports team is either amazing or terrible based on their last game, judge your entire relationship based on your most recent fight, or believe the stock market is either crashing or booming based on what happened this week. Recency bias is why performance reviews at work are often unfair. Managers remember what you did in the last month way better than what you accomplished earlier in the year. It's like your brain has the memory of a goldfish when it comes to making important decisions. It also explains why people make terrible financial decisions during market crashes or booms. Whatever just happened feels like the most important information, even when it's actually just random noise in a much larger pattern. So there you have it. Your brain is basically a walking disaster of terrible decision-making shortcuts that somehow kept your ancestors alive long enough to reproduce. Now you know why you make weird choices, and more importantly, you can start catching yourself before these biases turn you into your own worst enemy. Your brain might be biased, but at least now you know which biases to blame for your questionable life choices.